Hey everybody, I'm Negative Niece.
Joined by Harb.
There
I
you
thought you
go.
I thought you was gonna introduce me.
No,
I'm sorry.
I wanted you to introduce yourself.
Hey.
The people want to hear from you, Harbin, not me.
Yeah, I would probably have to agree with that one.
I mean, I've done extensive polling of the listeners, and you're the number one. You're the number one person on here.
It is what it is.
Uh,
Being flag bearer,
flag barrier.
flag barrier. Yeah. Oh my
Is
goodness.
Rick Pitino still at Iona?
Hey, man, listen. Everybody makes mistakes. Okay,
I
everybody
don't.
makes
I don't know what you're
mistakes.
talking about. I don't.
Shit. Anyway,
So
Balls played some basketball this weekend, didn't
yeah, played a little basketball. Started on what Thursday night. Me
they?
and
Yep.
you and some of the fellas, Undy, Brett, Chuck. Let's see, Hodge.
What?
Them boys.
What?
we we were supposed to go down to Cool Beans to have a Section YY8 watch party, and so many people came to see us that we couldn't even get in. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it is kind of funny how all those people were there to watch the game with us, and in turn, we didn't even get in.
It
So
was crazy.
we'd go Plan B, and we left a lot of people disappointed. So if it was one of y'all, I sincerely apologize.
Yeah, I got there a little bit before you all, and I was standing there, and they had the bouncer there at the front door, and we wouldn't let anybody in. And I was like, "Look, man, all of these people, you see all these people?" He was like, "Yeah, I'm not blind." And I said, "They're all here to see us, the Section YY8 podcast." And he's like, "Sorry, bro, I can't let you in." Fire marshal,
Oh,
get us.
you didn't have your credentials on you.
I guess I didn't. I didn't
Ah,
have.
but
But
it,
anyway, we ended up at another joint and watched the game, ate some food, chocolate milk,
what?
and and the Vols ended up taking care of business. Then we moved on to yesterday. But one thing we learned was Harbin and I have the same pair of shoes.
We do, we do.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and God, that's just always a weird feeling when
It
you
is. It
you're
is.
wearing the same thing as somebody else.
And Dr. Neese has them. I found out.
Shout out nth degree.
So yeah, shout out Nth Degree. And shout out to Dr. Neese and his wife Melody. They let me crash at their house last night after the big win. So I was literally there. I slept there, got up and left this morning, and didn't get to take the top five shower. I took a good shower, but not the top five shower that you got to take a couple falls ago when we were there. But anyways, let's just get right into it. NCAA tournament's going on, Harbin. I don't know if you heard.
The women's,
The women, well, yeah, women's tournament. There's the WNIT. It's going on.
the win it.
Um, the the win it. Did I just real quick? When we were driving over to Charlotte yesterday, I just stumbled on it for some reason. The WNIT bracket, and there's five teams in there that have losing records. I can't remember who they are, but what a tournament. Five teams with below 500 records. One of them was like 13 and 18. Like, why are they even playing at this point? Um, you shouldn't be rewarded for mediocrity or failing, but I guess that's what we're doing these days. But um, Vols played Thursday night, St. Peter's Peacocks, dispatched them by 34 points, 83-49. And then big game last night in Charlotte, Spectrum Center. Negative Niece was there live in section 201, way up in the rafters. I was almost up there with Sting. We were so high. I mean, it was way up there, but we got in the building and it was a fun trip. Got a little tense there the last 5 or 6 minutes. I may have lost my cool a little bit with the boys. and I had to scold them for not hitting shots, but they found a way, Harbin. They found a way. Uh, didn't have I mean, you got to give them credit. The effort was absolutely there. They did everything right except for putting the ball in the basket at a high level, and hopefully they can clean that up. But um, I thought it was. I thought they played really well, except for shooting. But any thoughts on the St. Peter's game, real quick? I know that was kind of in the words of Donald Trump, that was a bloodbath. And from right from the get go, it was never in doubt. But any thoughts on that game?
That is what we needed. Just go out, kick the hell out of inferior competition, you know. Just get like a little confidence booster, especially after dropping your last two games heading into the tournament. Um, you and I talked about this right at tip off, but when we found out they were starting that that cat that was 6'9" from the Senegal that he's from,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and he barely played all year, I knew they was in trouble because yeah, at that point you're just throwing out size, you know. Haydu had his way. Shots were falling. They played loose, you know, and they looked good. And like I said, they did what they needed to do. Just kick the hell out of them and get ready for Texas.
Yep, they took it to him. You could tell St. Peter's was physically outmatched, outclassed, whatever you want to call it, but there was no way they you could just tell right from the get-go there was no way they could compete with a team like Tennessee, whether it was Tennessee or somebody else. There was no way they were going to be able to compete with Tennessee. I know there were some folks, pregame leading into the game, were trying to invoke the St. Peter's from 2 years ago that beat Kentucky. But this is, like I said last week, just looking them up, they're not the same team that went to the Sweet 16 that year, or was it the Elite Eight? I can't remember how they went pretty far. It is,
Hey,
anyways, but they not the same team, and it showed the other day on Thursday night. So that led us into Saturday last night. Well, this is Sunday night, so it was Spectrum Center, downtown Charlotte. First game of the night there was Michigan State, North Carolina. That was a fun game to watch. Both teams shot the ball really well. Michigan State played really well. North Carolina just made more plays than they did down the stretch. Really hit the offensive glass, and they advanced. And then the Volunteers took the court against the Longhorns, and it was a totally different game than that North Carolina Michigan State game. I think they showed stats there in the arena of the Michigan State North Carolina game, and I think North Carolina shot 47% from the field, and Michigan State, I believe, shot 44%. So let's contrast that. Tennessee and Texas last night. It was not, I don't think it was not a well played game on the offensive end. And what I mean by that is neither team shot the ball well. Trying to pull the stats up here. My computer is, at least my internet, knock on wood, is not freezing up this week yet. Tennessee shot 33.8% from the field, well below their season average. Texas shot 36.4% from the field. Texas was 30% from 3-point range. Tennessee was 12% from 3-point range. Um, I've watched a lot of Tennessee basketball in my life. I don't think I've ever seen them shoot the three ball that poorly. And it was crazy, Harb. It's not like they were taking bad shots. I mean, they were a lot of times they were open. The offense seemed to work well. I mean, they even struggled down low at different points shooting the basketball. Didn't struggle at the line. We'll talk about that in a minute, but what was up with the 3-point shooting last night from the Vols? I mean, it's happened a couple times over the last few weeks with this team, but uh man, if they just made like three or four more of those threes they took, that game's not even close.
no, but um, this was semi expected in a way. Um, I'm trying to find the exact post. I don't think I'm gonna find it. It's not a big deal. Anyway, both these teams were in the Ken Palm top 30 in adjusted defense. Obviously, Tennessee's top five, uh, but Texas is like 26th, I believe, was the exact number.
I believe that's right.
We struggle against teams that play good defense. I think that's not a secret. I think people know that. But the thing is, Texas struggled against top 30 Ken Palm defenses during the season. In the regular season, I think they went 1-5 when they played a team that had a top 30 defense. Um, and we went something like 7-5 or something like that. It was something weird. We played a bunch of the high top defenses. Um, so I mean, it was kind of expected. Both teams are long. They're athletic. They're going to get out and contest shots. But yeah, it was kind of destined to be a rock fight. It was going to be a defensive battle, and like you said, surprisingly, we made our free throws. That was pretty much the difference. Um, but my biggest takeaway is we shot that poorly, and every game that we did that in the regular season, we lost, and we found a way to win when it mattered most. So that's my biggest takeaway is because if we can win a game against a pretty good opponent shooting that poorly, that gives me a lot of hope for the rest of the tournament. I'd rather
Yeah,
not do that. I'd rather not do that again, but it's giving me a lot of hope that we can find ways to win.
I'll tell you, there was one time in the arena. I think we had a possession. We missed two threes and like a 5-footer. And I just screamed. And by this point in the second half, some of the North Carolina, Michigan State folks had headed out. So it was mainly just Tennessee fans. There were hardly any Texas fans there. I mean, there may have been 50. Seriously. I mean, I tried to look down that, in the bottom part where they were at, and there was not many Texas fans there. So I just screamed, make a shot. Just make a shot. And they did down the stretch from the free throw line make a shot, but they really struggled to put the ball in the basket. And it wasn't just one person, it was everybody. But a couple big shots stood out to me was that connect three from the corner on the inbounds play, and then Triple J hit a big three from the corner. And that really catapulted the Vols there late, besides the free throws. But you're right, Texas solid defensive team. Their coach, Rodney Terry, comes from the Rick Barnes school, and they're going to play solid, tough, physical defense. And I feel like Texas played pretty good defense, but Tennessee also missed a bunch of open shots, and some of those they just got to make. But the thing I was impressed with is you're right. Earlier in the season, they lost games like this. South Carolina, Mississippi State, earlier in the season. I mean, even Texas A&M, they lost those games, and one of them they lost badly. Texas A&M. They did not let their offensive struggles yesterday affect them on the defensive end or on the glass. And I was super impressed with the team and the coaching staff. They worked around it, and that's what you got to do in March. You can't worry about next game. You got to figure out what's going on here. And when you win, you got to be excited about it and move on. And I was super pumped last night, even though I was frustrated and a little ticked off there in late in the second half. But when that clock hit zero and we nailed those last 6 free throws, it was pure jubilation. Vols onto the Sweet 16, and it was a huge win for Tennessee. And it's one of those games in the past that Tennessee loses. They find a way to lose those games. Now, we've won games like that in the NCAA tournament. The Iowa game in 2019, we blew a big lead, way bigger than this Texas game. I think we were up like 19, 21 points and had to go to overtime to beat them. And there were some games we struggled with and we won, over the last few years in the NCAA tournament. But that game yesterday had all the makings of one of those classic Tennessee cup shots that we've all seen with, we're playing Texas, Rick Barnes' former school. We have a big lead in the second half. We're struggling. Texas whittles it down. It's a one possession game. They've got the basketball. They had a couple shots to tie it, didn't make it. We got it, but we just made plays down the stretch. But um, this team is still has as good a shot as anybody to advance as far as they want to. Just got to shoot the ball better. He's gonna have to shoot the ball better.
Yeah. Game ball, in my opinion. It gets given to two players. The first one is Josiah Jordan James. 9-9 on the stat sheet isn't going to wow you.
Great game.
That's what we need out of him. Just get 9-9, 10, 12, 14 points. That's exactly where we need him. And the second one is Toby Awaka. He only played 11 minutes, had 10 points, 5 rebounds, 4 fouls. My God, they give you 5 of them. You might as well use
He
4.
and two of them, he earned two of them.
Good.
They were
Good.
legit fouls.
Good. Yeah, he picked up a little bit of Adu's slack. I don't think Adu played terrible, but there was one possession early at the very beginning of the game that he missed like 3 layups in a row.
Yeah.
It's like, my God, man, just make one of them. But anyway, yeah, Triple J, Toby Awaka. Not a whole lot to give out here, but those are the two that I give it to. Awaka stepped up big, and that's what we're going to need.
Yeah, Walker I thought he had a big night, especially on the offensive end. Got some big rebounds too, but he was kind of the Tobe Awaka we've been kind of either waiting for or expecting this year. If he could just control his fouling a little bit, that's one thing he's got to work on. He's a little bit careless with his body, the way he just throws it around out there. So he, kind of put us in a little bit of a tight spot, a little bit, not too bad, but they need him out on the court. They got to have him. They got to have him and Adu out there contributing to spell each other. And I didn't think Adu played bad last night, but it was not one of his better games. And a lot of it, I didn't think they were, especially early on, they weren't feeding him very well. But he, struggled catching the basketball, and he missed several layups slash just dunk it, man. Just break the glass. That's one thing I was telling Burkhart last night. Sometimes I wish this team would go up and just try to break the backboard. It seems like they're so finesse around the basket, and it costs them sometimes. I mean, they got several shots swatted last night, stripped. And I know it's tough down low. It was a physical game, but there's a couple times Adu missed a couple little bunnies, and there was one time he went up and missed a bunny, and I was like, man, just dunk it. You're 6'11". Just dunk it, man. But didn't play a bad game, no. But what about them free throws down the stretch, Harbin? 6 out of 6. And Adu,
Huge. Huge.
huge.
Huge.
Adu hit some huge free throws for the Vols. Adu and Connect down the stretch, just huge
I
free
was about
throws.
to say Connect went 7 for 8 on the evening. That's nice.
Yep.
Yeah. What was our total numbers for the game?
We were 15-8. It was a very well played game from the free throw line. Tennessee was 15-18. Texas was 11-12.
There you go.
You don't see that a whole lot. I was gonna,
Baylor needs to hit their free throws, and they would have beat Clemson. They'd be in the
yeah,
Sweet 16.
yep.
You watch
I did. Yes.
uh, one of their better players. I think he's an 83% free throw shooter on the season. And he went 5 for 12 tonight, and
Yeah.
beat by 4, I think, or 5, something like that.
Yeah.
So,
They lost by 4 or 5. Yeah,
yeah,
it's 4 or 5.
it's
Other contributors for the Vols, Dalton Connect, really couldn't get anything going. At the start of the game, ends up with 18 points, 9 rebounds. But That's something he's done really well with over the last few weeks, rebounding the basketball. We mentioned Adu. He had 11 points, 4 rebounds. Ziegler, 6 points and 7 assists. So good night for him. He did have 4 turnovers. Santiago Vescovi. So he's not going to wow you here. 2 points. But he had 4 rebounds and 4 steals. Sorry, 3 steals on the night. So he contributed in a big way on the defensive end. And like you mentioned, Triple J, 9 points. Waka off the bench, 10. And you got Gainey with 4, Meshack with 2. So, yeah, super excited. Tennessee's moving on to Detroit City, home of Kid Rock. And it's going to be a pretty good regional. Some pretty good teams up there. Creighton Blue Jays, Purdue Boilermakers, and the Gonzaga Bulldogs. But Tennessee, we can't worry about those other 2 teams right now. Tennessee's taking on Creighton Blue Jays out of Omaha, Nebraska. From the Big East Conference, they're 25-9, 14-6 overall. Ranked pretty highly, so it's going to be a tough challenge that Tennessee's got to look forward to next Friday. But any last thoughts on the Texas game, Harbin? I mean, I thought it's a huge win for this program to get back to the Sweet 16. First time since the 06-07, 07-08 season. It's back-to-back Sweet 16 appearances for the Volunteers. Rick Barnes improves to 29-27 overall in the NCAA tournament as a head coach. It's just good. I mean, think of it this way. Tennessee is one of 16 teams left playing for a national title in America. We're one of 16. So it's nothing to sneeze at, nothing to scoff at. It's a huge accomplishment, but there's more out there on the horizon. We've said it all year. I know my floor was the Elite Eight for this team, and so that's still out there to be had. I don't know. Any thoughts on any last thoughts on the win last night and what we got to look forward to?
I don't think it was a huge win personally. I think it was a necessary win. This team was consistently top 5 or 6 all season long, and it was just absolutely paramount to get out of the first weekend. Now, with that being said, being one of the last 16, that's cool. But from where our program is and where it has been for the last 6 years, you don't want to settle right there. I mean, obviously, you want to win every game, but this is as good a chance as we've had since probably 2019 to make a deep run. And so some shots go in, ball rolls our way a few times, maybe get a favorable whistle here and there. I'll take what I can get in March, man. So
Yes, sir. Yes,
yes,
sir. I mean,
necessary, and now we've got Coach McDermott and the Blue Jays.
the Blue Jays, not the Toronto Blue Jays. The Creighton Blue Jays, like I mentioned a minute ago, 25-9 on the season, 14-6 in Big East play. I think they finished third in the Big East. Net ranking of 11, KenPom ranking of 11. Best win on the season, UConn. So looked up the series history. Burkhart and I coming back yesterday or today. I was like, I wonder if the Vols have ever played the Blue Jays before. Matter of fact, they have. One time. It was like St. Peter's. We'd only played them once. Tennessee leads the all-time series 1-0. And it was a barn burner, Harbin. A barn burner.
Barn burner.
I'm guessing both of these teams ran system. January 9th, 1937 in Knoxville. Probably at old Alumni Memorial Gymnasium in the north end zone of Neyland Stadium. Tennessee wins a thriller 34-28 over Creighton.
Damn.
34-28.
And we missed an extra point.
Yeah. I wish there was a box score from that game to look up. I didn't see one, but there's your series history. Tennessee and the Blue Jays meeting for the first time since 1937. Um, BPI has Tennessee as 57.6% favorites to win the game. Vegas has Tennessee currently sitting as a 2.5 point favorite. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, yeah. Um, not gonna get an argument out of me. Creighton's good.
Very
Uh,
good.
they're good. I got to watch bits and pieces of that double overtime thriller they had with Oregon. That was good basketball. Um, yeah, the Big East is a very good conference. At worst, it's top heavy, but Creighton is either the second or third best team in that conference this year. UConn stands alone, and then you could argue whatever way you want for Creighton or Marquette. You got a valid point for either one of them. It ain't gonna be easy, cuz, but we're getting to that point where none of them's gonna be easy.
No, from here on out, anybody that you play is they're there for a reason. And whether you're an NC State and you're an 11 seed that have gotten hot, or you're UConn and you're the number one overall seed, and or Tennessee is the number two seed in this bracket or in this region. There's a reason you're still playing. It's because you're one of the best teams in the country. And I'm not saying NC State is one of the best teams in the country, but they're
Hey,
playing. They're
chill on
playing.
my
They're
chill on
playing
my
well
boy
right
DJ
now.
Burns.
DJ Burnt, he will not go. I said this last night. We were standing in line at the concession stand, and that game was in overtime, finishing up NC State and Oakland. I said DJ Burns refuses to die. He will not
Absolutely
go away.
will not.
Former Vol DJ Burns leading the Wolfpack to the Sweet 16. Um, any thoughts on this game coming up Friday night, Little Caesars Arena in Detroit? Not the Palace in Auburn Hills. It's gone. Rest in peace. There's no tip off time as of this recording. No TV network either as of this recording. But I don't know what's your thoughts, feelings going into this game next Friday night.
Hell, I don't know. uh, I'm looking at they've set the total at 145. Um, that's interesting.
That's
Um,
what the total was last night too. That is interesting.
give me their give me their Ken Palm numbers, offense, defense. You got that handy?
I can look it up real quick. They're pretty good.
Oh wow! According to Vivid Seats, $305 to walk in the door.
Whew. That's a little bit more than we paid to get in Charlotte. Not much more.
Believe I'll stay at the
Yeah,
crib.
I'm not going to that one. I won't be able to eat lunch this week after going to Charlotte. Let's see here, Harbin. Creighton is adjusted offense. They're number 11 and adjusted defense number 23. In comparison, Tennessee um, is number 30 in adjusted offense, number 3 in adjusted defense. So we've obviously got them beat in adjusted defense, but not a huge discrepancy there. And then they're a little bit better offensively than us. They shoot the three pretty well. I think they average near 12 3-pointers made per game. Tennessee was around, last I looked, were around 8. So Tennessee's done a pretty good job of guarding the 3-point ball the last part of the season. So they're gonna have to do it again. Creighton can shoot. I mean, those guys can shoot threes. I think they hit about 14 or 15 last night. Of course, they played 2 overtimes plus they played 50 minutes, so a little extra time there. But those guys can shoot. They're good. Tennessee's gonna have to play their best game of the year to win this game on Friday night.
Yeah. I don't know if it's gonna take the best of the best, but we're gonna have to bring our A game, you know. And them boys know that, and Rick knows that too. I would, I'll put it this way: I will be shocked if we come out and look for lack of a better term, uninspired. Kind of the feeling that we had when we played against Mississippi State in the quarterfinals of the SEC tournament. Uh, that is the only way I will be 100% shocked. I don't think we're going to see anything like that, which I credit the St. Peter's game to that. If you don't beat St. Peter's by 40, you may not have the juice to get you over the hump against Texas. Little stuff like that's a big deal, especially when it's a sudden like single elimination type deal. Yeah, you got to guard the 3-point line and you got to make shots. I would say the difference in those numbers may be the difference in the game. And get Adu going.
Yeah, they got, I think, a couple things on my end. They got to get Adu. They got to try to establish him early. It seems like when they get him going early, earlier the better with him. And Awaka too, getting him involved when he comes in. Um, they might need to tone down the number of threes they take, but they need to be a little more efficient in the 3-point shooting game because Creighton's going to make some threes in this game. Tennessee's got to make sure they're defending the three and not giving Creighton second chances. They got to, do well on the glass. Can't give his team a second chance. You're asking for trouble, but yeah, they've got a challenge ahead of them. And to echo something you said, I don't think you'll see this team. There's no reason or no excuse at this point to come out flat. They've not since the Mississippi State game. They didn't against St. Peter's. They definitely didn't last night. I thought they played hard, executed their game plan, except for making some shots. But, I mean, I don't think that's why they lose a game from here on out. It's not going to be because they come out and they're lackadaisical or, they might not look the prettiest. But I don't think it's going to be from a lack of effort, and it definitely wasn't last night.
Past that.
Oh yeah. So does Tennessee win Friday night? Putting you on the spot. And let me add something here real quick. You didn't even have Tennessee advancing this far. You had them losing to Texas.
I did.
So do they keep giving you the bird and keep winning Friday night against Creighton?
They might. But I don't think we pull it out. I hate to be negative Nancy, but I mean, you play a St. Peter's team that couldn't beat Tusculum, and then you wanted to beat your chest over it. And then you beat Texas just because they played worse than you did, and then you get some actual competition with Creighton, and yeah, it's been nice. It's like bowling says, it's late March, so Rick's got things to do. The sun's starting to come out. Gonna be a tight one. It's gonna come down to the end. I think it's a little bit of heartbreak hotel though.
Well, that's disappointing to hear, but as I said last week, I'm going down with the Vols. I'm going to ride this ship until it sinks or catches on fire or implodes or whatever it may do. Give me the Vols in a tight one, maybe back and forth. We might trail for a little bit. But give me the Volunteers. They're going to advance on to the Elite Eight for the second time in program history to either face the Purdue Boilermakers or the Gonzaga Bulldogs in Detroit on Easter Sunday for a chance to go to the program's first ever Final Four. Will they get negative Nice to Arizona? It's like Undy said the other night. What were we talking about? Somebody brought up Nico. And somebody asked me, and I kind of stuttered and went on. And Undy's like, Nice is laser focused on Tennessee basketball. I didn't even know that the SEC had put out 2025 opponents the other night. That's how laser focused I am right now, Harbin.
I mean, you got them zeroed in.
It's
You don't say nothing. You don't say nothing but a dub.
I just I want it. I need it. Gotta have it.
I'd prefer it. I mean, I promise you. Um, but I've learned that you prepare for the worst while hoping for the best.
Always keep your cup on
100%.
because the volunteers will kick you when you least suspect it. Real quick before we get to hater and losers of the week, Harbin. Um, Lady Vols still playing. They won on Saturday against Green Bay, so they'll take on I think NC State. I didn't even look, and that's my bad. I didn't even look. But 6 seed Lady Vols playing on Monday night. So they're still alive. Baseball took 2 out of 3 this weekend against Ole Miss. Got back on track after dropping a series at Alabama last weekend. And Lady Vols softball continues to play well. They took a series this weekend over the Carolina Gamecocks. So things are playing well over on campus right now. Um, anything else stand out from this weekend in the sports world before we get to haters and losers? Big golf tournament this afternoon.
Yes, I believe I'm going to use that from this weekend. I guess that could be a good little segue. Um, but my question to you is, how many games this month does Kelly have to win to keep her job? Does she keep her job if they win one more?
I think she keeps her job even if they don't win one more. I honestly really don't see them getting rid of her. Um,
And I will continue to not care.
I mean, we had this conversation yesterday, Burkhart and I did. They're in a tough spot because Tennessee's not they're top 4 in the SEC. They're making the NCAA tournament every year as a 3, 4, 5, 6 seed. Um, but it's not it's not Tennessee Lady Vols basketball standard. It's not up to where we want to be, what we want to be as a women's basketball program. Not what we expect. This program has 8 national titles. I realize that was a different era, different coach. But there is no reason that this team shouldn't expect, or this program shouldn't expect to be in the top 10 to 15 every year and competing to go to at least to the Final Four. And when you get there, anything can happen. But they're obviously not doing that right now. But are they playing poorly enough for Danny White and his staff? Do they pull the trigger? I don't know. We've not seen him really have to do that here yet. I mean, if he did, it would be the first one that he's axed while he's been here. So that's something to keep an eye on. But my gut feeling says no. I think whether they beat NC State or not, I think she's back.
Well, here's a couple points for how I look at it when it comes to the Lady Vols and Danny White. Is he content with how everything else is going? And the Lady Vol brand is not anywhere near, or that their prominence is not as important as it once was. Football's on the ups. Men's basketball is doing well. Baseball is very good. Softball team's elite. Is that is that enough for Danny White? Which he may be weighing that out. He'll never admit that. But if he's like, man, 4 out of 5 is pretty good, and if your fifth one is consistently top 30 in the country, you might be fine with that. He might not want to waste a few $1 million to go get a women's basketball coach. That may sound crude, but there's other sports that make more money for the program, and that's just the bottom line. Um, but if you do care about the Lady Vol basketball image, um, Kellie's got to go, man. Because if you're a 4, 5, or 6 seed in the NCAA tournament, in the women's tournament, that is a huge difference than being a 4, 5, or 6 seed in the men's tournament. The talent
Mhm.
discrepancy in women's basketball is much much wider than it is in men's. For example,
It's gotten better over the years, but you're right. It is it is a lot wider.
South Carolina's women, they played Presbyterian, I believe, in the first round, and the
Yes,
Vegas line was 54.5 in the NCAA tournament.
that's crazy.
And I think the biggest spread in the men's tournament in the first round was 27.5. And somebody kind of posed a question on Twitter. They were like, what two men's teams would have to meet up in the first round to get a 55-point spread? And there's only, I would say, probably two teams at the top and maybe 5 or 6 at the Division I level that you could make a spread that high. Um,
I mean,
that'd be
so
UConn and Purdue versus was it Detroit Mercy that won like one game this
yeah.
year?
Here's I just happen to have Ken Palm still pulled up from earlier. Here is yeah, you're right. Detroit Mercy. They actually went 1-31, but they're not the worst rated team in Ken Palm. That award goes to Mississippi Valley State, who also went 1-30. So yeah, maybe one of those two teams, Detroit Mercy or Mississippi Valley State.
I think UConn actually played Mississippi Valley State this year. I could be wrong on that, but I think they actually did.
Man, these teams down here at the bottom, I know we don't want to talk about this. This is crazy. Here's IUPUI. They've made the tournament before. They went 6-26 this year. Jeez, this is bad basketball. I don't even want to look at it. Get me off the bottom of this page.
Yes. So in November, the UConn Huskies played Mississippi Valley State,
What was the
and
score?
87-53.
So they didn't even beat them by 55.
No, they won by 34. Obviously, UConn could beat them by 55, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, we're getting off topic here, but
I mean, but you're right. I mean, you talk about the difference. I mean, you look at that Tennessee St. Peter's game the other night. It really truly and honestly, and this is a conversation for another day because it came up this week with Greg Sankey making some comments about automatic qualifiers for the NCAA tournament. But really, St. Peter's had no business being in the NCAA tournament. They won 3 games, 4 games, and won their conference tournament. But in the grand scheme of things, they really should have been. They were the 5th seed in their conference after the regular season. They had no business in the NCAA tournament, and they can't compete with a team like Tennessee. Tennessee was favored by what, 19 and a half, 21 points, something like that, I think was the final line.
I think it got to 21.5 at the tip, but it opened at like 19.
And Tennessee won by 34. They got up to what, was it 39 or 41 point lead at one point?
It was up there.
If it wasn't 55, I mean, I don't think Tennessee was ever going to beat St. Peter's by 55. So, yeah, it's just crazy. I don't disagree. I would be okay with Tennessee parting ways with Kellie Harper. I would hate it because she's a Lady Vols legend, won national title, 3 national titles here under Pat Summitt, was on 3 of the greatest teams ever, that dynasty that we had. And she's not been a bad coach here. Let's be honest. It's not been bad. It's just not been good enough. And do we keep her around and let it continue, or does Danny White pull the trigger and make a move? And if so, he's got a decision to make. I mean, who's out there? I guess that's what you got to look at too in this situation. Who's out there that you can get? I mean, I think the guy at Louisville is somebody I've always kind of looked at. And of course, everybody's infatuated with Molly Miller at Grand Canyon. One, because she's easy to look at, and I don't know, I haven't looked in to see how much success she's had, but there's another coach somewhere else that her name's being brought up from a smaller school, but Tennessee and women's basketball is not a job where you just get some up and comer. I think it's somebody where you go out and you get a proven winner. It's one of the elite jobs in women's basketball.
The bottom line is there's a reason that Kelly got fired. Uh,
Yes.
because
Yes.
I believe you or Bowling said that last week or 2 weeks ago.
Me.
And that's the truth. At the time, I liked the hire, and like you said, it's not been bad, but it's not been good enough. But I think the most important thing is when they inevitably do make a move, you gotta get away from the Pat Summit umbrella. That's my biggest thing. And I give a lot of credit to Alabama personally, replacing Nick Saban. They went and got somebody that had zero ties to Alabama, zero ties to Nick Saban, um, a guy that had proven himself at a different place. And I think that's the way to go. Don't cling to the past and be like, oh, well, this girl played for 25, 30 years ago, so she's going to be 2.0. Can't do that. You got to go get somebody that has nothing to do with this place that can create their own culture.
The
That's how.
o- the only one I would consider is Carol Lawson. But I don't think there's anybody out there. I honestly don't think there's anybody else out there under the Pat Summit umbrella that you could even consider at this point. I honestly don't. I mean, nothing, is hitting my head here right off the top of my head, but there's been several. She's had several former players go on to coach, and they've not been very successful. I mean, Kyra Elsie was just fired. She was on those teams with Kelly Jolly. She was just fired at Kentucky. I mean, she never had I don't think she had a winning record up there. Um, so
There,
it's not been a very successful coaching tree.
there's one home run hire that I can think of, and I don't even think you could do it. One, because you'd have to pay too much money to get it, and you've already got enough money spread out in coaches at this university. But if you could somehow pull Becky Hammond away from the NBA ladder, which I don't think is possible because I think the Spurs are going to end up making her the
Yeah.
first ever woman NBA coach after Popovich retires. But if she gets tired of that or wants to get back with girls, and you're serious about getting winning, you call her. That's the first one that popped in my head. That's it, man. But yeah, we are gonna find if the Lady Vols do lose their next game, we're gonna find out if Danny White cares about them being good or not.
I
That's
think
how.
I think if they do go after somebody, they need to go after Jeff Walls, Louisville head coach.
We'll
That
see.
that would be my first that would be my first call, but I'm
We'll
not
see.
the AD, so all right, Harbin. Hater and losers of the week. Do you have one? And if so, who are they? Them? Who are they?
Mine is it's kind of been a little bit of a hot topic in the golf world. Um, uh, but just to name a few, Rory McIlroy, Wyndham Clark, few others. My hater and loser of the week is people that want to cut down the PGA Tour size and have more limited events with no cuts. Um, you don't get moments like you got today if you limit the field for the just to try to get all the stars in it. For those of you that are listening that did not catch the golf tournament, the Valspar this weekend, Jeff County product, Dandridge's own Peter Malnati won the Valspar today. Comeback victory. He's been on tour for a long time. Duke can play. He played at Jeff County, went to Missouri. He's hung around on the PGA Tour for, I don't know, 15 years, it feels like probably. He hadn't won since 2015. And his interview afterwards was awesome. I encourage you to go watch it. It wasn't anything crazy, but it was raw, it was authentic. He's pretty much like, man, you do this for so long, you go so long without winning, like you start to question if you can actually do it, and like, then you ask yourself, why am I still doing this? You know, and they said, and then you have this moment, and it's perfect. You know, like he's like, you would do all 9 years over just to have this one moment again. Um, and if you cut the tour down to 100 guys, um, and try to do elevated events is what they're calling them. You don't get moments like these. You get guys that have the commercial deals, the TaylorMade's top guy, so forth. Like the guys that already have everything, really. Um, and the biggest hater and loser of the whole thing is guys that are trying to pull up the ladder behind them after they've made it. Wyndham Clark specifically. He was he was the man at Oregon in college. Then he got to the tour, and it just didn't really pan out for a while. Then he finally broke through last year, won the U.S. Open, and now he's solidified as probably a top 10 to 15 guy in the world right now. And now he's trying to pull the ladder up behind him, saying, "Oh yeah, we need to cut it down to 100 elevated events." Blah blah blah. It's like, dude, don't be like that. Like, if somebody would have asked you this a year ago today, you would be 100% arguing against yourself right now. It's just chicken shit, in my opinion. There is definitely more than 100 deserving golfers to be on a PGA tour, um, and you just don't get these cool moments like this. But yeah, those are my haters and losers, which can be applied in pretty much anything in life. Trying to pull the ladder up behind you. Don't be that guy because once upon a time you were one of the ones trying to climb up the ladder. So also shout out Peter. Got his second win on tour. He's going to retire handsomely. Very good golf.
Yeah, it was a cool post match. About said post game, post match interview. But you mentioned you go so far so long between victories and winning, it makes you question why you're doing it. It's kind of like me with the Vols, Harbin. It's been so long, and for some, it's been never. At least I've experienced some of it, football, basketball, but I think we're on the right path. My hater and loser of the week, Harbin, and this will come to shock to no one, is you and Big Montana. Can you believe it?
Hey,
Let's go back and listen to this clip from last week.
yeah. If we play Texas, we're going home first weekend. We're not making it out of the Spectrum Center.
I don't want Tennessee to lose, but I think they lose in the second round. In the second round, also.
All right, Harbin, what do you have to say for yourself?
Listen, man. I consider all three of us, even you included. I feel like we have pretty decent brains on ourselves when it comes to sports and the balls. I just went with my gut based on what I'd seen, and there are some rumblings that I may have just done it for some bulletin board material, or perhaps quote unquote reverse jinx. I'm ecstatic that the Vols are in the Sweet 16. I just want to say that. Man, anytime you watch a show like a sports show or something and everybody agrees on a topic, it gets a little boring, gets a little dragged out. You need a little bit of flavor. Need a little bit of flavor. Need some extra seasoning for a show to gel. Um, and like I've said before, and I will continue to say it, it's not my first time being wrong, and it's definitely not going to be the last. Uh, but I'm very happy. I can't speak for Big Montana. I think he would agree with that statement. Um, Yeah, the Vols showed me something.
I had to give you guys a hard time because I was thinking about y'all last night when that clock hit 0. And I was thinking about y'all saying the Vols just wouldn't get it done. There's no way it's going to happen. Big Montana said, I got to see it to believe it. So I know I know you guys are happy that the Vols won. I'm just, you were a hater and a loser last week. Too bad.
I've been called worse by better.
It's an honor. It's an honor to be a hater and a loser.
Yeah, I think that's the first time I've ever been nominated on this show. So there's probably some loyal listeners out there that are eating this up right now. I could probably name about 3 or 4 automatically that are absolutely loving this clip as they're playing it. Yeah, sometimes you're the bug, sometimes you're the windshield, man.
I'm sure there are some very ecstatic listeners of the show right now.
Absolutely. And I'm not going to give them the time of day to name them.
Speaking of listeners of the show, shout out to our boy Evan. Got hitched last night. You were there live in person.
Was in color.
In color. So I saw some pictures and some clips from it. Looked like everybody had a good time.
Yep. Had some chocolate milk on tap. Shout out to the True Moo. It was a wonderful night. Wonderful night. Congrats, Evan and Holland. Thank you for letting me be a part of it. Beautiful wedding. Everybody had a great time.
Hopefully, they're on their honeymoon listening. You think they're listening to us on their honeymoon?
I wouldn't say no.
I wouldn't. Where did they? I'm gonna look on the analytics, and I don't know where they went. You can tell me off air, but I'm gonna look and see if any listeners ping from their location. We'll see.
Be awesome. Be awesome.
It would either be awesome or something else is going on. All right, Harbin, this is a big weekend coming up. It is Easter weekend. Tennessee's going to be playing on Good Friday. But this is it. This is what it's all on the line. You got to win 2 more games. Well, it's not all on the line, but
it is. Your season.
But it is. Your season's on the line. We're one of 16 left in the elimination chamber, and we're 2 wins away from glory. Well, not glory, but 2 wins, the edge of glory. We're 2 wins away from going to the desert, and we're so dang close. I can almost taste it. But this is a huge weekend coming up. Creighton Blue Jays on tap, and then if we're lucky enough to win and find a way to win, and you've either got Purdue or Gonzaga coming up, and so we're not going to go, talk here about the rest of the tournament, but and it's not even totally set yet because there's still, as we're recording, there's still 2 games in progress: Houston and A&M, and I don't think Yale and San Diego State have tipped off yet, but that North Carolina Alabama game next Thursday could be one of the more entertaining games of this entire tournament coming up. Both teams like to, push tempo. Both teams are going to score quite a bit, especially Alabama, but North Carolina can score too. So besides the Midwest region, Tennessee and Creighton, Purdue, and Gonzaga, that might be another game to keep your eye on this upcoming weekend. North Carolina, 1 seed North Carolina, 4 seed Alabama.
I do think the Midwest region therefore is better than any other 4 remaining. Personal opinion, which I might be an idiot, but Gonzaga shocked me because McNeese was the popular pick. Obviously, in hindsight, not a good one. But they absolutely dominated Kansas in the second half of that game.
It was a bloodbath.
We got to watch that one in the dressing room before the wedding started, and it was a 1-point game at halftime. They ended up winning by 23, 24.
Yeah, they got up by 30 at one point, but yeah, it was, somewhere in that 23, 24 point range.
Yeah, yeah, that was didn't see that one coming. Um, we got a couple good ones on now. Obviously, by the time that y'all are listening, these games will be final. But that Alabama Grand Canyon game was like a damn football game.
Yeah. It was I tried had it on here while we were recording the last few minutes, but watched it leading up to it. It was rough. It was rough.
So
Uh,
it's 7 minutes of the game. I think they said that 6 players had 4 fouls.
yes.
Yeah, it's insane. You don't ever see that. And it wasn't like they was calling ticky tack. Like
No.
they were knocking the hell out of each other.
Let's see here real quickly before we check out here. Update on the Section YY8 Bracket Challenge. There's a $25 Alumni Hall gift card on the line. If you win and don't want that, we'll talk. But a gentleman by the name of Josh Fields. I'm not sure who Josh is, but if he's listening, you're in first place as of 10:35 on Sunday night with 46 total points. He picked Purdue to win the national title, and then there's a bunch of people right there nipping at his heels. Notables that listen to the show include Nick Bain, who's 2 points behind. There's Coach Rimmer, a couple points back. Laura Franklin, a couple points behind. Listener to the show out there in Nashville. Kevin Griff's right in there. Let's see. We go down here. Big Montana's not too far back with 43 points. Listener to the show, Nick Bernard at 43. YY8 Refugee, 42 points. He's in 14th place. Here's some more listeners. Isaiah Keck, Brett Stanton. There, Ryan Burkhart's down in here. There's Gavin. He joined the bracket pool. Let's see here. There's Josh Cox. He's about midway down the pack. There's Dr. Neese. There's Travis Bell. There's Coach Ballard. Big Landry. Big Ethan Rimmer. So I keep scrolling down here. I'm looking for my name. I just now see it. I'm tied for 39th, Harbin, at 36 points.
I'm bringing up the rear.
Yeah, you're not in last anymore. I looked earlier today. You were in last. Yeah,
the last. So what is hilarious about this is the last time I looked, which I think was either yesterday or Friday, I was in 4th.
Yeah.
And boy, was the round of 32 not kind to me. I've completely lost my West bracket.
I'm looking at mine right now.
I don't care about my bracket.
I'm looking at mine right now. I still have every Elite Eight team alive because I had Houston Marquette in the South. I have Tennessee, Purdue. In the Midwest, I have North Carolina, Arizona. In the West, and I have Illinois and UConn in the East. So all 8 of the Elite Eight are still alive. All 4 of my Final 4 are still alive, which were UConn, North Carolina, Houston, and Tennessee. But you're no longer in last. You're 1 point out of last. That would be, he didn't listen to the show, but I'm going to give him crap anyways. Josh Walker. He is at 32 points. But you both picked Houston to win the national title. So you'll obviously, if they do that and keep winning, you'll jump some people because here's a Baylor national title pick. They're eliminated. Here's a Kentucky pick. They're eliminated. Here's another Kentucky pick. Coach Ballard. Too bad. There's another one. Nick Bernard, Kentucky. Too bad. But everybody else still got their national champion still alive. So lots going to change as we go into next week. Points increase as we advance on. So I wanted to give a quick update on that. 47 entries. So appreciate everybody entering. Hope you guys are enjoying it. And we'll see who wins here in a couple weeks. Probably going to come down to the wire. All right, Harbin, you got anything before we clock out here for the night?
Yeah, breaking news as of 30 minutes ago.
Uh-oh.
Tennessee and Creighton will tip Friday night about 25 minutes after the conclusion of Gonzaga and Purdue. We're probably looking at what it says 10:15 p.m. on TBS or True TV.
Oh, my dad is gonna hate that. He complained. I went to eat with him tonight. He was
the
like,
whole night.
they got to stop playing these late games. They are killing me.
That is awful.
That is late. It's TV, man. They try to stagger these games so they all don't end at the same time, but they're overlapping each other, obviously. But man, that's late. That is late.
Here's my thing. Don't they do 4 games on Friday, 4 games on Saturday?
Yes.
How in the hell are you doing a game tipping off at 10:15?
Well, they're playing all 4 after 7:00 is the problem.
That is the dumbest. Oh, God, I about turned this
Yeah,
into.
I mean, you would think they would do like today and start at like noon or something, but they play these games in prime time.
It's Easter weekend too. Do it during the day. Ridiculous. Or start at, I don't even know. Start at 2. Go like 2,
Yeah.
5. Go like 2.
I don't. I guess they
5,
won't. I guess they're looking at
6:30
getting
and
more.
9.
I guess they're looking at getting more eyeballs on it. I don't know, but that is ridiculous. That is ridiculously late. 10:15.
My thing, if you're on the West Coast and that game tips off at 7, how many people that live on the West Coast give a shit about Creighton and Tennessee?
What game was it on Saturday that tipped off at like 9 or 10:15 Pacific time? Or Mountain. Oh, it was Mountain time. It was the game in Salt Lake City. They tipped it off at like 10:15 local time.
Last night?
No, like 10:15 in the morning. Because it was the game started at 12 something Eastern. I can't remember what game it was, but anyways, yeah, it was one of these games on Thursday or I can't remember if it was Friday or yesterday. Some game tipped off at like 10:15 Mountain time.
I think it was Dayton and Arizona.
Yeah, it may have been it.
Yeah.
I mean, local time it was 10:15. Our time it was 12:15, so it was fine. But they're playing in the morning. They barely ate breakfast. I don't know. They know more about it than we do, Harbin. So, but that is crazy. Yeah, well,
do they?
They may not. But all right, guys, we're gonna head out. Appreciate everybody listening. Remember to hit that like, smash that like and subscribe button on the YouTube channel. Hit it, throw it, smash that subscribe and like button like old boy for Tennessee slapped Tennessee's name on that bracket board that when you win, they go in there and they put their name on that board, advancing them on in the bracket. He broke the board on Thursday night after we beat St. Peter's. They gave it to that walk-on, and he hammered it on there and cracked the board. But yeah, get on there, like and subscribe. You can catch us anywhere you get your podcast. Most people stream us on Apple, Spotify. I'll post the links on our social media. You can find us on social media, Instagram, Twitter /X, and Facebook at Section YY8. So we will be back. Hopefully, let's see, Tennessee, hopefully they're not going to play at 10:15 next Sunday night if they win on Friday. I assume that will be more of an afternoon tip-off because there would only be 2 games. But we'll see what we can do, Harbin. Maybe if it's not too late Friday night, we can record a reaction show or something. We'll see. Gonna be late. But we'll hopefully be back. Hopefully be back next weekend with some good news for you guys. Or we'll be back with bad news. One way or another, we'll be back.
There will be news.
There will be a show next week, I promise you. Tennessee will either win or lose. I guarantee it. I'm going to go out on a limb. Is that Vince McMahon guarantee?
Stone Cold Lock of the Week.
Stone Cold Lock of the Week. All right, guys. Appreciate everybody listening. For Harbin, I'm Negative Niece. You've been listening to the Section YY8 podcast. Go Big Orange. Let's get to Arizona.